Welcome back to the Max Reality. If you've seen my face before, then you know the drill, but if you're new here, my name's Morgan, and I love talking all things reality TV. And today, we are still in the midst of what I have dubbed Shark Fest. Today, we're talking about episode 5 from season 15 of Shark Tank, and the reason I have the ghost earrings back, even though it is December 4th when you're watching this, and it's obviously December time, is because this episode is the Halloween special. And this year they went all out for the Halloween special. The set, the different in-between cards where it says Shark Tank instead of being blue were red. The little name cards were even different. It was fantastic. Our sharks for the episode are Barbara, Kevin, Lori, and Mark. And to just top off going all out for Halloween, we have Jason Blum, founder of Blumhouse. I was looking for a picture of Jason to use for the graphic. This picture of Kevin came up. I just had to share with the class. That was so funny. He was on one this episode. We will get there. Our first pitch of the night is Thrill Builders. Guy walked into the tank looking for $250,000 for 20% of his custom attraction building business. So this pitch isn't as cut and dry as most normal Shark Tank pitches. It's not like a first of its kind or anything, but it's not just like a clear product, sales, so on and so forth. So let's get into it. So Thrill Builders is the main company, and what they do is set up custom attractions like escape rooms, mini golf, laser tag, haunted house type things. They have different packages where they can send you stuff and you can set it up yourself, or they'll come out and install things. It's not like he buys or rents a venue and sets these up and then gets money from that. People pay him to set them up for them, and it's usually businesses, he said, doing like team building type things. And that is the main business that he currently has. I have no idea the margins or what it costs them to make it because they really didn't get into the nitty gritty of that. But on their website, you can go and look at different things they have, like the escape rooms, mini golf, whatever. I'm currently looking at the escape rooms, and the cheapest one is $9,995, and it looks like the most expensive one is $69,000 and $69,900. Making that joke made me not be able to say numbers right. This year, that business will do $4.2 million in sales. Last year, it did $3.2 million, and it was profitable, $975,000, and their lifetime sales, $12.2 million. You may be thinking to yourself, why is this man on Shark Tank? It seems like he's doing great. It's because he wants to do something else. Well, I guess not something else makes it sound different. Something in addition to Thrill Builders. He wants to take Thrill Builders to the next level by building their own thrill factory, a 50,000 square foot indoor entertainment center with a haunted house, mini golf, bowling, all the different attractions that they set up for other people, but in their own building where they can have guests come and enjoy and have a permanent Thrill Builders thrill factory. He estimates that the whole project is going to cost them $7.2 million to make.
Where's that money coming from?
The answer to that is they've raised $1.7 million, and during those sales, he sold about 17% equity of his business, and on top of that, they have a $5 million loan that they've taken out.
You are a very brave man.
Very brave.
Or you're nuts, one or the other.
Barbara is our first shark to go out. She just says that she knows nothing about this space, and it's scary for her. There's so many bad, puns and jokes for Halloween, being scary and stuff like that. I love cheesy. I love it. I live for it. It's camp. While Barbara might not be interested, that's okay because other sharks are chomping at the bit to get in on this deal.
For everyone.
All right, Guy, listen.
I'm
gonna make an offer.
Whoa.
I'm gonna make an offer.
Whoa.
I'm gonna make an offer.
Whoa, Nelly.
So first we have Kevin jump in with an offer. He's really interested in the real estate play aspect of this whole business and offers $250,000 for 25%. Also saying that he's willing to do it alone, or if there are any other sharks that want to join him, he is more than willing to partner up. And Lori immediately jumps on that.
How about 3 sharks?
Now that there's 3 sharks involved though, Kevin says that it needs to be 30% for the $250,000. That way they each get 10%.
Guy, your numbers don't
these
add up then, because you said you made $970,000 from Thrill Builders, right? So let's just make it $1 million to simplify it. So for $250,000 for 30%, you're gonna write them a check at the end of the year for $300,000 for giving you $250,000.
We are only on episode 5, and this is the second time that Marcus had to explain investment math to an entrepreneur. See Dating by Blaine as the previous example. Guy says he understands that he's undervaluing his company, but he says that's just how important it is to him to get a deal with a shark.
Guy, why is it so important you get a deal from a shark? I don't get that at these terms. I don't understand.
He says that it's not really about the money for this upcoming project, but more about that he wants to eventually expand this, have 9 thrill factories, and Kevin, Lori, and Jason all completely understand and love his answer and want them to take their deal right this moment. Guy decides to counter the $300,000 for 30%. Of course, Kevin, Lori, and Jason immediately say yes to this, and he leaves the tank with a deal with Kevin, Lori, Jason Blum for $300,000 for 30% of his business.
He just gave away 30% of his company for nothing.
Very, very scary.
Yes, for him.
So I tried to see where they were in the process of building the Thrill Factory, but I don't see any updates on their social media or anything. I don't know if they're just like, waiting till it's more solid to post anything about it. I just thought they'd be hyping it up with the airing of the episode and all that. When you go to their website, in the top corner where their logo is, it'll say Thrill Builders, and then it also says Thrill Factory. So I'm sure it's still in the works. Like, they'd already bought the space they were in. But I would love an update from him. I didn't see anything, so if you know something, leave it in the comments. My final thoughts about it are, though, I agree with Mark. I do not know why this man 30% for $300,000 when it's not very often that this happens where the entrepreneurs go this way, the wrong way. Usually they're like way overvaluing their company. Like, this is such a rare thing, and it is honestly more painful to watch, I think. Our third pitch of the night is I Love Chamoy. Annie walked into the tank looking for $300,000 for 5% of her healthy version of the Mexican candy sauce chamoy. Here it is. It comes in 3 different flavors: the original, chili mango, and pickle. If you've never heard of chamoy, that's okay, because I will read you the description from their website. Chamoy is a sweet, tangy, and spicy sauce that goes well on fruits, vegetables, agua frescas, seltzers. The list goes on. So in the picture, you can see the different ways she presented it to the sharks. On the left, it's actually inside that little drink. In the middle, it is just put on top of some sliced up mango. And then on the very end, it is the rim for that margarita. You'll also notice in the picture that there is a watermelon flavor, but it is not on their website. So I don't know if that's like maybe in the pipeline, or maybe it's an old flavor that doesn't exist anymore. If you know. As I always say, let me know in the comments. Another product she presented on the show that I do not see anywhere on the website were chamoy gummies. She said they were in the works, so I don't know if they're still in the works or if they're sold out. Who's to say? Not me. So I actually happened to follow this account when she came out on Shark Tank. I was like, I follow her. So I was so hype. I love when a product that I follow on the internet or I've seen before ends up coming on the show. It always feels like, it's like when you know a band before it's cool. So I say that to say, I'm almost positive I saw her talking about the gummies on TikTok. I don't know if maybe she was talking about that they were upcoming. I don't really remember. I didn't save the video, so who's to say? My memory is not solid if I don't save things or write it down. To make one of the bottles of chamoy, it costs them between $1.60 and $2. They wholesale it between $3.90 and $4, and then those people retail it between $6 and $7, and then on their website, it is $12 a bottle.
Annie, you've got to be making just a boatload of money.
And the answer to that is yes, she is. Last year was their first full year in business, and they did $550,000 in sales. Year to date, they've done $1.3 million, and this year she's projecting to close the year between $3.8 and $4 million. This year, they project profits are going to be close to $1.5 million. And on top of that, The company has no debt. Barbara's the first to jump in and say that she doesn't really think retail is the right way for Annie to go. She thinks selling this online will just do her a lot better, and that if Annie's in for the retail ride, Barbara does not want to join it, so she goes out. A slight damper to start us off, but that's okay, because there is still a shark interested, Chef Wonderful, and he offers her $300,000 for 15%. Unfortunately, though, it does go downhill from there. There's Lori, who thinks she doesn't need a partner. She thinks she's doing great on her own and just needs to keep doing what she's doing. Jason goes out because he thinks she's really impressive, but he just doesn't have any experience in this field, so he wouldn't really have a great way to help her. And Mark thinks that she's done everything right, but the product just isn't to his taste, and they are all out.
Well, all sharks are out, and all Chamoy leads to Mr. Wonderful.
She attempts to counter Kevin $300,000 for 7%. Kevin turns it down and starts to go into his famous routine of what if you get hit by a truck, but makes it a little spooky for Halloween.
And there's the factor that I was worried about. It's Halloween here, and there's tombstones and skulls.
Are you getting creepy?
No, I'm thinking you get run over by a truck.
After that, both Jason and Lori just give fantastic responses to Kevin.
I don't necessarily agree about if you get hit by a truck, those are other problems.
And honestly, Annie, what if he got hit by a truck?
Kevin responds to the getting hit by a truck thing by saying he has a whole team Wonderful that she will meet if she partners with him, and that will be there to help run the business, and that it's not just him. So they go back and forth for a while because she says 15% is just way more than she was willing to give away, and he talks about how he's not having to negotiate against anyone but himself. Finally, she decides to counter one more time for $300,000 for 8%. He's not willing to do that, but he does counter her the $300,000 for 12.5%. But that's all he's willing to do.
The 12 is so high. In the spirit of
Not so
Halloween.
high.
In the
Annie,
spirit of Halloween.
Hey, bud, did you have an opinion about this one? Yes. Oh, hi. Yes, thank you. Yeah. Oh, compelling. Then she kind of has like a little devil and angel on her shoulder moment with Mark saying that she needs to stick to her guns because she's making money, so that percentage does matter. Like, it'd be different if she was losing money, but she's actually profitable and she should know her worth. Jason, on the other hand, is like, it's a great deal. Y'all need to meet in the middle.
all of this is interesting, but none of them are making you an offer.
Kevin says that 12.5% is his final offer, and Annie turns it down.
Yay! Good for you.
So the first thing we have to talk about in final thoughts is all of the sharks clapping when she turned down the offer. That was so funny. Second thing is, this is obviously on my list to try. Like I said earlier, I've been following her on TikTok for a little while now, and this has been one of those products I've wanted to try, but just haven't gotten around to it for whatever reason. But now it's on 2 different lists of mine, just random ones and Shark Tank ones. So doubles the odds that I'll eventually get it and try it. As for turning down the deal, I mean, anybody who's ever watched any of my videos knows I'm a Kevin hater. So, like, I wouldn't want to make a deal with him. But also, I agree with the other sharks. I just don't feel like she really even needed a shark. I don't think she really needed to come on the show. I think she was doing fine on TikTok and everything. I mean, it was apparent from her numbers. It's apparent now. So, you know. But it was fun to see her on Shark Tank. Our third pitch of the night is Maniac Pumpkin Carvers. Mark and Chris walked into the tank looking for $150,000 for 8% of their pumpkin carving business. So Mark and Chris are both artists, and their specialty is carving pumpkins into custom portraits, famous works of art. You name it, they can probably carve it into a pumpkin. They don't just do custom pumpkins, they also do private classes and live carving events. On top of that, they do a lot of advertising and time-lapse videos, making content for people to post and use for marketing purposes. So lots of different things. They're not just some random pumpkin carvers. They got a business going on. Their business was actually super reliant on these live in-person events. And like most businesses that relied on this, 2020 had a big effect on them. Because of that, they started pivoting into online classes, events, demonstrations, and now they're wanting to start up a school of pumpkin. We don't get a breakdown of every single thing, what the margins are, but Mark wants an example of What if he got a custom carving of Mr. Wonderful? What would the cost of that be?
Nothing would make me happier than sending a picture of Mr. Wonderful.
Yeah.
And you sending me a carved 3D pumpkin of Mr. Wonderful so I can smash it on Halloween night.
Or it could have a spike in its head.
Right, even better, see?
Even better.
Of course, this makes Kevin want to give a hypothetical of his own.
Could you carve my face on a watermelon?
Absolutely.
Could you put Mark Cuban's on a grape?
Guys,
Last year, their gross sales were $294,000, but of course, since they're moving more and more into the online class space, the Sharks want to hear about those numbers specifically. They say in the last 3 years, they've sold $170,000 in virtual classes and $90,000 in toolkits. The toolkit isn't like their own set of tools, it's tools they've used over the years and that they recommend, but that is something they eventually want to expand into. They want to have their own proprietary set of Maniac Pumpkin carving tools. Then our guest shark, Jason, gets to ask the age-old question, why are they there when it seems like everything is working fine for them? They say they really want to get into the direct-to-consumer market and make sure that everybody who's carving pumpkins is using their classes and their tools.
But you
But
don't,
you don't have the tools. Yeah,
gotta
that's
have
it.
tools.
So Barbara wants to know exactly how much their online classes have been growing, and then they let us know that they haven't actually sold any of these classes like direct-to-consumer. They've been selling them to corporate clients.
Oh, small
Oh,
detail.
So after that, Barbara starts saying that she feels like they're going in the wrong direction. The minute she says this, I just assume what she meant was that they shouldn't be doing the corporate classes. They should start getting into the direct-to-consumer classes. But no, Barbara hits us with this one.
Why not apply your skills to another market? Do you ever do sandcastles? That's temporary. It takes artistic talent.
I cannot explain to anybody how much that clip has made me laugh, and I'm so glad I have it saved forever. Just a fantastic moment. 10 out of 10, no notes. Unfortunately, this leads to an avalanche of the Sharks going out. Barbara just doesn't see the potential when their market is only about 4 months of the year. Jason thinks they're incredible artists and think they already have a sustainable business going, and he feels like if they pumped too much business into it, they just would fall out of love with what they've created. Kevin just doesn't see it as scalable and gives us another Halloween-themed line.
Your deal itself is very, very scary.
I told y'all, they were really on one this Halloween. Then we have Lori, who just doesn't want to compete with the other cheaper stencils that you can get out there. And last, there's Mark, who understands that they want to scale this, but Mark just doesn't think there's a big enough market. And unfortunately, the guys leave the tank without a deal. Final thoughts. Once again, this episode, I don't think they needed to come on. I don't really think they need a shark. I understand they're wanting money to build up, I guess, the tools and maybe marketing. I really don't even completely know what they wanted the money for, but it seems like they're doing fine. I really agree with what Jason said specifically about how they're having fun with this, they're making money, and if they just pump too much into it, it's going to ruin it for them. They should just enjoy what they have. Too many people make this mistake of just scaling up, and getting so unhappy when you could just have a business that works and makes money and makes you happy. Crazy thought. So many people don't agree with it though. Our fourth and final pitch of the night is American Ghost Walks. Mike and Allison walked into the tank looking for $250,000 for 15% of their history tours of beautiful locations with haunted pasts. Here are some photos from their websites of different tour locations. They started the business in 2008 in Wisconsin, and then after that, they started to grow to different cities. They do live guided tours in 7 states and Puerto Rico, and they currently have 32 employees. Mike and Allison do all the research and write out all the scripts, and then their employees are some of the people doing tours along with Mike and Allison.
I thought you guys were a joke. You have a real business here.
Of course, them having all these locations leads Barbara to asking a very intuitive question.
Were they all equally successful?
No.
We love the honesty. Then it's time to get into sales, and we get one of those sales ramps that they've been really into asking for the past couple seasons. In 2020, they were only in Wisconsin, and they grossed $92,000. They didn't say anything about profit, so moving on, 2021, they added Illinois. They grossed $392,000 and netted $92,000. But then in 2022, they grossed $546,000, but they lost $42,000. They say that year they were really reinvesting in the business, and they spent about $115,000 acquiring other tours. Then we get into 2023, and they're projected to gross $650,000, but they're planning to spend $600,000. So unfortunately, this leads to a parade of sharks going out. We start with Jason, who just thinks they're spreading themselves way too thin, opening all these different locations and not spending enough time just nurturing what they have. Kind of back to the Buenas Papas fry bar situation, where people were nervous about how fast they were opening stuff, even though they didn't say it. I knew. That's what the sharks were saying. Barbara, Lori, and Mark all pretty much say the exact same thing Jason said, but in their own special and unique ways. And they all go out. And after all 4 of these sharks going out for saying that they're spreading their business too thin, they say, wait a minute. Wait, we have something else even. We're going to go into merch.
You are not in the merchant. You are in the tour business. You did not listen to my advice.
But there's still Kevin, whose issue with them isn't the same as the other sharks. His biggest issue is that he feels like they've asked for too much money.
My options are, I give you the $250 or I buy another watch. And that's the only reason I work, is to buy more watches and sometimes give it to guys like you. But you're riskier than a new watch. If this was 50 or a Hunsky, maybe.
In the end, Kevin just doesn't see how he'd ever get a real return on his investment, and he is our final shark to go out, meaning the pair leave the tank without a deal. But they do leave us with this great line at the end.
Now we can use this place as a location on our haunted history tours because we're the victims of a true crime.
Final thoughts, like I said about the Buenas Papas fry bar, I agree with the sharks that it's just not a good idea to try to open a bunch of stores at once. It just doesn't go well. It just never does. And I get why none of the sharks really wanted to invest. It just doesn't seem like they're in a good place to do that. It feels like they would take the money and just keep buying more tours, which isn't what they need to do right now. And that, my friends, concludes the 5th day of Shark Fest. Have you used any of these products? Have you seen I Love Chamoy on TikTok? Let me know all that and more in the comments. And until then, I'll see y'all in the next one.